So there are better places to be when you're out of your mind on acid than in the basement of a sorority watching your friend's punk band play. But there I was. And, yikes. But there I was. Even though I wasn't technically allowed to be there because I wasn't in the sorority or any sorority. But fuck those bitches, because I was with the band. I had 2 wishes that night. And the first one was that my friend, we'll call him the punk rocker, was going to just, out of nowhere, call me up to sing with the band. The second wish was that the guy that I was hopelessly in love with, we'll call him the Rambling Man, was going to show up and take me away from this terrible party and this terrible trip. The first dream didn't come true, because I was too young to realize that all you gotta do to get to sing with a band is ask. But the acid must have taken pity on me and put out a call through the Syracuse streets to all the other psychedelic drugs hanging out in the bloodstreams of partygoers around Syracuse, because there, before the set was over, out of the corner of my eye was the Rambling Man, as out of his skull on ecstasy as I was on acid. He was with his friend, he came up to me and he said, "Hey darling," and he picked me up and he spun me around, and then his friend, and I don't even need to give him a nickname, because the first time he ever introduced himself to me, he said, "Call me the shadiest bastard in town." The shadiest bastard in town picked me up too and said, "Hey darling," and spun me around. And then they said, because they just hit the high of that drug, and they were like, "You gotta come with us. We need you. We need to talk to you. Come with us." And the one thing that they didn't say, as we booked it out of the basement into the cold Syracuse air, was, "Isn't this better than getting laid?" No, they had another message for me that night, or maybe it was just a different version of the same message. Only the Rambling Man wasn't the one to tell it to me, because he was driving, and that took a lot of concentration. So the shadiest bastard turned around and says to me, "Sarah, he loves you, but he can't be with you, or you couldn't have this." Now that's a fucked up thing to hear from the guy you love, but it's even more fucked up to hear it from his best friend, and even more fucked up to hear it from his best friend while he's sitting there next to him, silent. And then when you throw in the acid, I think I pretty much figured out all my years of therapy, and I probably could have saved a lot of money on cocaines if I'd stayed in that night and watched Golden Girls reunion shows. Fit to speak, and he turned around and said, "Rob, you know I love you, but if you were my girlfriend, we couldn't get high all the time, and we couldn't have this. You'll always be my girl, but that's just the way it's gotta be." And that's the way it was. And we went back to the Shady Bastard's apartment, and we put on the Grateful Dead, and we talked in low tones, and the shadiest bastard in town called us the 3 mellowest people on earth. And that's the way it was a few weeks later, when all of us were doing ecstasy this time, and the Rambling Man turned to me, his grin illuminated with black light, and said, "Isn't this better than getting laid?"
Isn't it better
virgin, but I was a virgin nonetheless. And I think the Ramblin' Man knew that, because he always used to say things to me like, "You're so innocent, and you make me feel like a kid again, and I'm not worthy." And though I still think that the real reason that he didn't, or I thought then that the real reason that he didn't want to be with me was because I wasn't as put together as those sorority girls. But I think, you know, I think he did love me, just in a different way, in a friend way. I realize that now. And I'm glad that we kept things that way. A few days ago, I was at the Ramblin' Man's going away party at his penthouse on the east side of Manhattan. He's going away to Westchester because his wife is pregnant. And she's great, because we're grown-ups now, and I'm married, and he's married, and we got our really good lives, and they were right. And I'm glad that we stayed friends, because if we hadn't, I wouldn't have half the stories that made me the person that I am today. And I wouldn't have been up there on the roof with the Ramblin' Man, the shadiest bastard in town, and the punk rocker. And up on that roof, looking over all of Manhattan, we toasted the Ramblin' Man and the Ramblin' Baby on the way. And we talked about how funny it was that the punk rocker and the shadiest bastard in town somehow both ended up working for Bloomberg. We never would have saw that a decade ago, but that's the way it was. And I was so happy that everything worked out the way that it was. And I was really happy that I wasn't pregnant and on my way moving to Westchester. Because that's not my story to tell. Because the thing is, I'm still with the band, only this time I get to sing. And I didn't even have to ask. And that, my friends, and now I actually have the experience to say this with truth. That, too, is better than getting laid.
Rainone. Everything's better, better and better. Everything's better than getting laid. Well, everything's better, better and better. You know that it's better than getting laid. Wow, wow, everything's better, better and better. Everything's better than getting laid. Oh, no, no, everything's better, better and better. Oh, everything's better than getting laid. Wow, everything better. Well, everything better. Well, everything better. Well, everything better than getting laid. Oh, yeah. Rainone.